If I had given you that question, Mac Jones or Cam Newton, what would you have said?
I'd say Mac Jones, and it's because it's about third down. Number one, I think this selection of Mac Jones tells me that Josh McDaniels and the Patriots want to go back to their old school offense a little bit, the offense that they ran for obviously such a long time with Tom Brady. Okay, and I think the second thing is this football team is going to be a ground and pound football team. This is a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, and they are going to run the rock. Now, when you do that, third down becomes paramount. 3rd and 5 or less is going to be about decision-making and accuracy. And you're going to have to continue to make those third down throws to continue to keep the ball on the field. And I think that's where Mac Jones will have a distinct advantage versus Cam Newton. I don't believe that New England's going into this season with multiple type of schemes offensively. One where we could use Cam as a runner, and one you're obviously not going to do Mac Jones. This is going to be a running football team, 2 tight ends, play action pass, and the most important down is going to be third down to them quarterback-wise. Mac Jones will have the advantage in that. I think Mac Jones should be their day 1 starter. I think Mac Jones will be their day 1 starter.
And so, Dan Graziano, let me come to you. To whatever degree we ever hear anything out of Foxborough, what have we heard so far as Bill's plans?
Well, look, his plan is to see how it plays out in camp, and whichever guy is playing better, that's who they'll go with. But it's an interesting point that Orlovsky brings up, because you're going to design your offense differently if it's Cam Newton versus if it's Mac Jones. I think Dan is right that it's going to be a run-based offense. It's going to lean hard on the run. They feel like that's where their strength is. The question they have to answer is, if you're going to be a run-based offense, does having Cam Newton at quarterback actually help that? And if the answer is yes, that running threat on third down may be pretty important too from the quarterback position. So look, they're smart, they're creative, they'll figure it out. And I do believe Bill Belichick when he says, this is a meritocracy. If the young man's playing better than the other guys, then he'll start. But they do have some finagling to do depending on how it shakes out by the end of camp.
Domonique, I want to go back to what you said about where he was picked. It is interesting because Belichick, if indeed he wanted Mac Jones, he could have pursued him more aggressively. Right. He sat there and waited for him to fall to 15, which suggests he was willing to live with the idea that someone might trade up in front of him to take Mac Jones. I see what you mean. There is something different in that psychologically.
That jumped out to me when Orlovsky was giving his analysis, which I agree with almost everything that Dan said, except for when he said they want to go back to doing a traditional offense. I don't think that they have their heart set on anything. I think that they are going to draft who is there and build an offense, or draft the best person available and then build an offense around that. I don't think that last year was enough for them to be pining for days of old where they want to go to some pocket passer. I believe that he was there, they picked him up, and if he turns out to be good in camp, then they will transition to that. This is not a decision to transition. This was a decision to draft a talented guy who was there, and if they have to change things because of it, they will. But if he doesn't play well at camp, trust me, Cam Newton is going to be out there. This is not some desire to go back to old school football.
No, I disagree, Dom. I think that if this organization was intent on kind of transitioning to a different style of offense for the future, you had 2 kids early in the first round that fit exactly what you wanted to do. So if you were committed to doing that, you were going to go up to get one of those guys. I also don't think that Bill was just sitting there going, well, we'll see if he falls to us. I think, you know what I think the reason why they got him at 15? Because they knew what everyone else was doing. That's what I think. They just had information.
Literally, he did just fall to them, and I think that they are fine with whatever. They're going to build a team, and that's one thing we know about the Patriots is that they build around what they have. They rely much more on coaching and putting guys in position to do what they do best than they do entering anything with, this is my philosophy.
But they also do things.
Like, that's why we love Bill Belichick, and that's why we have respected that organization, because they – go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
No, go.
I don't want you to explode.
But they also do what everyone else isn't doing. So as everyone else is transitioning to athletic, mobile quarterbacks, dual threats, I think New England's going to go pound the football.
I mean,
what?
Everyone isn't going with 4 tight end sets. Like, just because people aren't doing it is not an argument for them to do it. I think they're going to do things that are effective and that fit into their scheme. So I think it's a possibility that they may go back to this Mac Jones style of football. But if they were, intent on doing that, they could have gotten Andy Dalton. They could have moved up in the draft. They could have gone after all these other quarterbacks who are out on the market that could run it that way. Them waiting and letting someone fall to them doesn't suggest to me that they are disenchanted with this modern football and they want to go back. It's just like, hey, this guy looks good. Let's see what he can do. If he's
Let's
good
see.
enough, we'll build our offense that way. If he's not, you know what? Cam Newton, ground and pound and take deep shots if his arm is still up for it.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.